Have you ever wondered how a huge trade deal, signed in some fancy boardroom thousands of miles away, could possibly affect the food on your table? Well, it's a question that connects the massive world of global economics right down to a single farm. Today, we're going to follow the 25-year journey of a researcher who made it his life's work to find that connection. So let's get specific. How does a piece of paper signed in Geneva, the home of the World Trade Organization, actually change the price of something like cardamom for a farmer in Kerala, India? I mean, it seems like a massive leap, right? But the line between those 2 points is surprisingly direct, and it has a very real, very personal impact. All right, our story kicks off back in the 1990s. This was a really pivotal time for India's economy. It was just starting to open up its markets to the rest of the world. And that's exactly where we meet the researcher at the heart of our story, right as he's starting his foundational work. So meet Dr. Anil Kuruvila. He's got a PhD in agricultural economics, more than 25 years of experience under his belt, and he's the head of his department at Kerala Agricultural University. His whole career has basically been dedicated to untangling that very knot between farming and the global economy. And this is where it all began, with his PhD. He asked a huge question. What happens when you have freer trade? What does it really mean for India's growth, for its poverty rates, and, most importantly, for the prices that farmers actually get for their crops? He was digging into both the promise and the potential perils of something called trade liberalization. So what is trade liberalization? Well, to put it simply, it's just about lowering the barriers between countries, things like import taxes, to make it easier for them to buy and sell from each other. The big idea is to grow the global economy. But as Dr. Kuruvila was about to find out, it has some really complex on-the-ground consequences for farmers. So as India leaned into this new era of open markets, a totally new problem started to crop up. And this is what forced Dr. Kuruvila's research to evolve. He had to shift from thinking about broad theory to tackling a very specific and often painful side effect of global trade. You know, his research journey really shows this fascinating evolution. Back in the 90s, he's looking at the big picture of free trade. But by 2011, he's zeroing in on the nitty-gritty problem of price volatility. And then, by 2021, he's diving even deeper into the specific, intricate details of supply chains, like for cardamom. It really shows how his work adapted to what was actually happening on the ground. And this was the key issue. Fewer trade barriers meant that Indian farmers were suddenly exposed to the whims of the global market. Prices were swinging wildly up and down, making it almost impossible for them to plan for the future. This wild ride, this volatility, became the absolute focus of the next chapter of Dr. Kuruvila's work. And his work on this really critical issue, well, it started to get him some major recognition. In 2011, he won first place in this really prestigious research competition that covered all of South Asia. And this wasn't just some academic pat on the back. It was a huge acknowledgement that he was tackling one of the most urgent economic challenges for farmers across the entire region. Yeah, the title of his award-winning project is a bit of a mouthful, but it says it all, doesn't it? He was looking directly at how those international price swings were hitting Indian farmers in this new age of liberalized trade. He was connecting the dots. And the recognition didn't even stop there. His project was so impactful that it got nominated for a global competition. This took his work from a regional stage right onto the international one, and it really proved just how universal this challenge had become. Okay, so as global trade got even more complicated, so did the challenges. This meant Dr. Kuruvila's research had to evolve yet again. He had to move beyond just looking at simple border taxes and start digging into the hidden rules of modern business. So the old challenge was tariffs, simple import taxes. But the new challenge is something called non-tariff measures, or NTMs. And these are way more complex. We're talking about things like food safety standards, specific packaging requirements, pesticide limits, all these rules that can be just as big of a barrier to trade as any tax. And of course, Dr. Kuruvila dove headfirst into this new challenge. He actually became a certified data collector for these NTMs and even led a WTO-funded project that analyzed the entire cardamom supply chain just to understand how these modern rules were affecting trade. So, after 25 years of research into trade policy and price data and all these complex regulations, what does it all really mean? What's the actual payoff? Well, this is where it all comes full circle, right back to the individual farmer. And in his own words, Dr. Kuruvila just lays it out.
He says his work on forecasting prices helps farmers make these absolutely crucial decisions, like what to plant, when they should harvest, and most importantly, when to sell to get the best possible price.
So, how does it actually work in practice? It's a pretty simple but powerful process. Step 1, he takes all of that incredibly complex international and domestic data and just crunches it. Step 2, he uses that analysis to create forecasts that predict where prices are probably headed. And then step 3, the most important step. Farmers get their hands on these forecasts, turning all that complicated data into a simple, powerful tool they can use for their business. Ultimately, it's all about empowerment. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. And for a farmer, this isn't some abstract theory. This means financial stability. It means being able to support your family. That is the real-world payoff of decades of dedicated research. So, as we wrap this all up, what's the one big idea we should really take away from Dr. Kuruvila's incredible 25-year journey? I think it's this. Academic research, when it's at its best, isn't just theory locked away in a library. It's a living, breathing tool that evolves and adapts to solve real, pressing problems for real people, from the heights of global trade policy right down to the soil in a local field. And that leaves us with one final thought. Dr. Kuruvila's journey shows this clear evolution, right? From tariffs to price volatility to non-tariff measures. So, as our world gets even more connected and even more complex, what do you think the next big frontier will be for researchers like him, who are out there working to translate global change into local strength?